5 years from now, will you look back with pride or regret? What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and success isn't talent, luck, or intelligence, but action? Most people wait. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect time. They wait until they feel ready. But the truth is, waiting is a trap. A day turns into a week turns into a year. And before they know it, they're still in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. The Stoics knew this truth centuries ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. The modern world is full of distractions. Procrastination is the silent killer of dreams. But there's a way to break free, a way to force yourself into action, every single day, no matter how you feel. In this video, we'll uncover the 8 Stoic strategies that separate those who take control from those who remain stuck. By the end, you won't just understand how to act. You'll have the tools to build unshakable discipline, sharpen your mindset, and create unstoppable momentum. So if you know someone struggling with motivation, share this video with them. And in the comments, tell us what's one thing you've been putting off. Today, that cycle ends. Let's begin. 1. Act now. Stop overthinking. You have 2 choices. Act now or stay stuck. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? How many opportunities have you let slip because you hesitated? Overthinking is the graveyard of progress. You don't need more time. You don't need more preparation. You need movement. The mind is a double-edged sword. It can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Neuroscience confirms this. When you hesitate, your brain shifts into analysis mode. It scans for threats, weighs risks, and crafts excuses. And the more you think, the harder it becomes to act. Paralysis by analysis. The longer you wait, the stronger your hesitation becomes. You train your mind to associate action with discomfort and avoidance with relief. But avoidance has a cost: regret. Stoics understood this long before science confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." If today were your last, would you waste it debating whether to take action? Would you let another day slip away, telling yourself the same excuses you whispered yesterday? Every moment spent hesitating is a moment stolen from your future. Every opportunity you let pass is one that may never return. You do not control how much time you have left, but you control what you do with it. Yet most people wait. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait until they feel ready. But readiness is an illusion. There is no future version of you that will suddenly wake up fearless, free of doubt, and full of confidence. That version of you does not exist. It is not waiting for you in the distance. It is built through action. A beginner waits to feel prepared before stepping into the ring. A master steps in despite uncertainty and becomes great through the fight. The difference? One waits, the other moves. Think about the job you never applied for, the gym membership you never used, the skill you kept telling yourself you'd learn. What stopped you? Not lack of time, not lack of opportunity, but a mind stuck in endless loops of hesitation. The belief that you needed to know more before you could start. But here's the truth. You don't need to know everything. You need to begin. The fastest way to break this cycle is to take immediate action. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Need to send an email? Write 1 line and hit send. Need to exercise? Get up and stretch for 2 minutes. Need to work on a goal? Open the document and type the first sentence. Small actions break the mental resistance holding you back. They signal to your brain that movement is happening, and once you start, the momentum takes over. Momentum is everything. Newton's first law states, an object in motion stays in motion. This applies to your mind too. A single action breaks the cycle of inaction. Once you take the first step, the second is easier. The third is an automatic. This is how successful people operate. They don't wait for the right conditions. They create conditions through movement. They force themselves to take that first uncomfortable step until action becomes instinct. 2 people want to start a business. One spends months researching, planning, and overanalyzing. They convince themselves they need to know every detail before they begin. The other sets up a basic website, contacts 5 potential clients, and starts learning through experience. A year later, the first person is still planning. The second has a growing business. The difference wasn't intelligence, resources, or luck. The difference was action. Seneca put it bluntly: we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Overthinking magnifies problems that don't exist. The only way to prove them false is to act. Fear of failure? You only fail if you refuse to try. Fear of imperfection? Everything great started as something small. Fear of judgment? Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to care. Fear is a liar. The only way to weaken it is to move forward in spite of it. This is your challenge. Think of something you've been avoiding: a task, a conversation, a decision. Do it now, not later, not tomorrow, now. The moment you act, hesitation loses power. The moment you move, fear shrinks. Take one step, no matter how small, then another, then another. Before you know it, you'll be moving so fast that stopping is harder than continuing. That's how change begins, not by waiting, not by thinking, but by forcing yourself to act day by day until it becomes who you are. 2. 99% of people fail because they quit too soon. You start, you're excited, motivation surges through you, the goal feels real and achievable. Then resistance shows up, it gets harder, progress slows, doubt creeps in, you start wondering if it's worth it, and then you stop, not because you're incapable, not because the goal was too big, but because success takes longer than you expected. This is the pattern. In fitness, in business, in personal growth. Beginners start fast. They hit resistance. They quit. The ones who succeed, they endure. Psychologists call it the valley of disappointment. It's the phase where effort is high, but results are invisible. It's where most people walk away, convinced they've failed. But in reality, they were inches away from the breakthrough. They just didn't stay long enough to see it. Think about it. How many people sign up for the gym in January, only to quit by February? The first 2 weeks feel good, endorphins, energy, excitement. But then reality hits. The body is slow to change. Strength isn't built overnight. It requires showing up, day after day, long after the excitement fades. Most don't last, but those who do, they transform. The same principle applies to everything in life. Learning a language, starting a business, building a meaningful relationship. The first phase is always exciting. Then comes the plateau. Progress stalls. Things get frustrating. And this is where 99% of people quit. They assume they're not good enough, that they're wasting their time. But the real problem isn't talent or intelligence, it's patience. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Most people believe failure happens suddenly. One big event, one major loss. But failure is often slow. It happens in the small, daily choices to quit. Look at any great achievement. It wasn't built in a single moment. It was built in the boring, frustrating, invisible work that no one claps for. Consider two friends, Ethan and Daniel. Both want to start an online business. Ethan spends 6 months researching, watching tutorials, and taking notes, but he never launches. He's always waiting for the right time. Meanwhile, Daniel, he sets up a basic website in a week. It's messy, it's imperfect, but it's real. He gets his first client, then his second. The first year is brutal. No major profits, long nights, 1,000 small failures, but he keeps going. 1 year later, Ethan is still getting ready. Daniel, he's running a business. What made the difference? Not intelligence, no luck. Action, patience, endurance. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they can't handle slow progress. They crave immediate results. When they don't see them, they assume it's not working. But success is never instant. It's stacked, brick by brick, with consistency. Seneca once said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." The real challenge isn't talent, it's staying in the game long enough to win. Think about a musician learning guitar. The first few weeks are exciting. Chords feel new, songs start to form. Then they hit a wall. Progress slows, fingers ache. The temptation to quit is strong. This is the breaking point. Quit now, and all previous effort is wasted. Push through, and the skill becomes second nature. Everything worthwhile follows this pattern. Look at athletes. They don't train only when they feel motivated. They train when they're exhausted, when results are slow, when no one is watching. That's why they win. Look at the authors. Many great books were written in the dark hours, fueled by doubt and filled with rewrites. The difference between a published author and an aspiring one? The first didn't stop. Look at relationships. They're not built on grand gestures, but in the quiet, daily decisions to show up, to listen, to commit. This applies to everything. Most people quit because they don't understand time. They overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what they can achieve in a year. They give up too soon, never realizing that the results are just around the corner. Imagine planting a seed. You water it for weeks, but nothing happens. You get frustrated. You stop. But what you didn't see was the root system growing underground, preparing for the breakthrough. If you had just kept watering it, that tiny seed would have grown into something unshakable. Success works the same way. You don't see the results at first, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. So ask yourself, how many times have you given up right before the breakthrough? How many things could you have mastered if you had just kept going? Here's the challenge. Stay in the game longer than you want to. When it gets boring, when it gets tough, when quitting feels easier, that's the moment to push forward, because 99% of people quit too soon. But you don't have to be one of them. 3. Perfection is a trap. Just start. You hesitate. You tell yourself you need more time, more knowledge, a better plan. You keep tweaking, adjusting, and waiting for the perfect moment, but it never comes. This is the illusion of perfection, the silent killer of action. It feels productive. You convince yourself you're making progress by getting ready, but in reality, you're stuck. You're postponing action under the disguise of preparation. The Stoics had no patience for this mindset. If you wish to be a writer, write. Epictetus made it clear. If you want something, do it. Don't wait for the ideal conditions. Perfectionism is just fear in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear that you're not good enough. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of endless planning and endless learning, but never doing. Look around. How many people do you know who say they want to start something, write a book, get in shape, launch a business, but never take the first step? They talk, they research, but they never act. They're waiting for perfection. Think about the musician who spends years searching for the perfect instrument but never plays. The aspiring entrepreneur who takes course after course but never launches a product. The person who wants to get fit but spends more time researching diets than actually exercising. It's everywhere. People are stuck in a loop, paralyzed by their own unrealistic standards. They think success requires the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, and the perfect mindset. But perfection is a lie. A sculptor doesn't start with a masterpiece. They start with a rough block of stone. The first cuts are crude, the shape is unclear, but they keep chiseling. That's how mastery is built, through action, through imperfection. Psychology backs this up. Studies show that people who take action, even with incomplete information, learn faster, improve quicker, and achieve more than those who wait for the right time. The act of doing creates feedback. Feedback creates growth. Growth creates success. But those who wait, they stagnate. They waste years preparing for a future that never arrives. Seneca warned against this. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. If you're always waiting to be ready, you will wait forever. There's a reason why successful people embrace imperfection. They understand that action comes first, clarity follows. They don't wait to feel confident before they start. They start, and confidence grows along the way. Think about this. Have you ever learned a skill without first being bad at it? Have you ever mastered something without first struggling through mediocrity? No one is good in the beginning. No one has it all figured out. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't, the ones who succeed are willing to be bad at first. Consider two writers. One waits until they have the perfect idea, the perfect conditions, the perfect inspiration. Years pass, they never finish a book. The other, they write every day. Their first draft is terrible. Their second is better. By the 10th, they've created something worth reading. Who wins? The one who started, not the one who waited. The same applies to business. You don't need the perfect website, the perfect marketing plan, the perfect brand. You need to start. Take messy action. Improve as you go. It applies to fitness. You don't need the best workout routine, the best diet plan, the best gym gear. You need to show up, lift, move, sweat, start. It applies to relationships. You don't need to be the most charismatic, the most confident, the most prepared. You need to engage, talk, make mistakes, Act. Everything you admire, every great book, every successful business, every extraordinary achievement was once imperfect. It started rough. It started flawed. But it started. The biggest mistake isn't doing something poorly. It's never doing it at all. Think about what you've been postponing. The thing you say you'll do someday. The project you've been planning for years but never touched. What's stopping you? Notability, not resources. Your own hesitation. You don't need more time. You don't need more information. You don't need perfection. You need action. Because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. The longer you hesitate, the more comfortable inaction feels. But the moment you start, the fear weakens, the doubt fades, the momentum builds. So here's the challenge. Take one imperfect action today. Write the first page. Make the first call. Step into the gym. Launch the business. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Because the ones who win aren't the ones who wait for perfection. They're the ones who started. 4. No one is coming to save you. Save yourself. You're waiting for someone to recognize your potential, for the right mentor, for a sign that tells you it's time. But deep down, you already know the truth. No one is coming. The world moves forward, with or without you. It doesn't pause to check if you're ready. It doesn't wait until you feel strong enough, prepared enough, confident enough. You either take control of your own path or stay stuck, watching others move past you. Imagine a soldier on the battlefield. His radio is silent, no backup is coming. He has two choices: stand frozen, hoping for rescue, or pick up his weapon and fight his way out. This is life. The moment you realize that no one will fight your battles for you, you stop waiting and start moving. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. There is no prize for hesitation, no reward for passivity. The only ones who win are those who act and who take full ownership of their lives. Yet, everywhere you look, people are waiting. The employee who complains about not being promoted but refuses to build new skills. The friend who dreams of a better life but never takes the first step. The person who blames their relationships, their upbringing, their circumstances, everything but themselves. They wait for external forces to change their situation, but nothing changes until they do. Take Sam, for example. He spent years stuck in a job he hated, telling himself he deserved better. He waited for someone to notice his worth, for his boss to give him a raise, for an opportunity to magically appear. But that day never came, not because he wasn't capable, but because he never took action. Then there's David. Same job, same situation. But instead of waiting, he built his escape. After hours, he learned new skills. He started applying for better positions even before he felt ready. He didn't wait for someone to save him, he saved himself. A year later, Sam was still in the same job, still complaining. David had moved on. Same starting point, two different outcomes. The difference, one took responsibility. The other waited. Stoicism teaches that the only thing within your control is yourself, your actions, your mindset, your decisions. Everything else is external. And yet, most people waste years expecting something external to rescue them. They believe success is about luck, about being discovered, about someone else giving them permission to succeed. But as Seneca wrote, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The world owes you nothing. If you want something, you create the opportunity. Think about how often you've told yourself, if only someone would give me a chance. If only my situation were different. If only I had more support. Now ask yourself, what if no one ever comes? What if this is it? Would you still wait, or would you finally take action? The uncomfortable truth is that every time you blame something external, your past, your parents, your boss, the economy, you give away power. You make yourself a victim. But the moment you stop blaming, you take your pew-pew. Look at history. The most successful people didn't wait for permission. They didn't ask to be rescued. They built their own way. Elon Musk didn't wait for NASA to invite him to the space industry. He created SpaceX. Oprah Winfrey didn't wait for someone to lift her out of poverty. She climbed out. Tom Brady wasn't born a champion. He trained relentlessly until the world had no choice but to acknowledge it. You don't need someone to open a door for you. You need to build your own door. If you want a better life, take responsibility for the one you have now. Stop making excuses. Stop waiting for things to get easier. They won't. Take control of what you can change, adapt, adjust, improve. Every day you wait is another day wasted. Another day that could have been used to build something real. Another day given to fear, to doubt, to hesitation. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. But the moment you act, the fear weakens, the doubt shrinks, the momentum builds. So here's the challenge. Stop waiting. If something isn't right, fix it. If you don't like where you are, move. If you don't have the opportunity you want, create it. No one is coming. But that's okay, because you don't need them. 5. Fear never disappears. Face it. Fear never leaves. It lingers in your mind, waiting for the perfect moment to paralyze you. You feel it when you step outside your comfort zone, when you stand at the edge of a big decision, when you're about to take action that could change everything. It whispers, what if you fail? What if they judge you? What if you're not good enough? And so you wait. You tell yourself you'll act when the fear fades, when you feel ready, when the doubt disappears. But that day never comes. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding fear, thinking that courage means eliminating it. It doesn't. Courage is moving forward despite fear. It's stepping into the unknown with your heart racing, your hands shaking, your mind screaming at you to turn back. The only way to stop fear from controlling you is to walk straight through it. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Fear isn't in the event itself. It's not in the challenge, it's in how your mind interprets it. A mountain looks impossible to climb from the bottom, but every step forward makes it less intimidating. The key is movement. Think about James. He wanted to start his own business, but every time he thought about leaving his stable job, fear tightened its grip. He imagined failure. He imagined losing everything. So he stayed. Years passed. The fear never left. Instead, it turned into something worse, regret. He watched others take risks, build something, and create freedom for themselves. And he realized his greatest fear wasn't failure. It was staying the same. Then there's Alex. Same fear, same doubts. But he moved anyway. He wasn't fearless. He was terrified. But he understood one thing. Waiting doesn't make fear go away. Only action does. He started small, took the first step, then the next. And something strange happened. The fear didn't disappear overnight, but it lost its power. It no longer dictated his choices. It no longer held him hostage. Fear only grows when you avoid it. Every time you hesitate, every time you step back instead of forward, you train your brain to see fear as a stop sign. But what if fear wasn't a warning to stop? What if it was a signal to move? The things that scare you most are often the things that will push you to the next level. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of what you fear never actually happens. Your mind creates exaggerated scenarios, worst-case outcomes, and illusions designed to keep you safe. But how many times have you faced something you once feared, only to realize it wasn't as bad as you imagined? Public speaking is a perfect example. Before you step on stage, fear grips your chest, your hands sweat, your heartbeat pounds, your mind convinces you that you'll forget your words, that you'll embarrass yourself. But then you start speaking. A few sentences in, something shifts. The fear fades, not because it vanished, but because you acted. Fear thrives in hesitation. It loses power in movement. This applies to everything. Asking for a raise, switching careers, taking a risk, making a difficult decision. Fear is loud before you take the first step. But the moment you move, the moment you push forward, it begins to quiet down. It doesn't disappear completely, but it no longer holds the same weight. Think about learning to swim. At first, the deep water feels impossible. Your body resists. Fear tells you that you'll sink, but you keep moving, you keep practicing. And one day, without even realizing it, you stop thinking about drowning. You just swim. Every person you admire, every successful athlete, entrepreneur, artist, or leader has felt fear. The difference is, they didn't wait for it to disappear. They didn't wait until they felt 100% ready. They moved despite the fear. And in doing so, they built confidence, they built resilience, they built the ability to act, even in uncertainty. So ask yourself, what fear has been holding you back? What challenges have you avoided because it makes you uncomfortable? What opportunity have you let pass because you were afraid of failing? The only way to conquer fear is to face it. Not in theory, not someday, today, because fear never disappears, but you can choose to act anyway. 6. Discipline over motivation. Do it even when you don't feel like it. Motivation is an illusion. It feels powerful when it's there, driving you forward, making action seem effortless. But what happens when it disappears? What happens on the days when you wake up exhausted, uninspired, and unmotivated? If you rely on motivation, you will fail, because motivation is not constant. It's fleeting. It comes and goes, dictated by your emotions, your energy levels, and your surroundings. Discipline, on the other hand, does not care how you feel. It does not wait for the perfect mood. It does not ask for permission. Discipline is showing up even when every part of you wants to stop. It is doing what needs to be done, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And that is the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. He knew that the mind was lazy by default. It seeks comfort, avoids discomfort, and resists effort. If you allow your mind to dictate your actions, you will always choose the easier path, the one that feels good at the moment, but leads to long-term regret. Neuroscience backs this up. The brain rewards consistency. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen neural pathways that make discipline easier. Over time, showing up becomes second nature. But if you let emotions control you, if you wait for motivation, you reinforce the habit of inconsistency. One day you're working hard, the next you do nothing. There is no momentum, no progress, just cycles of starting and stopping, over and over again. A disciplined mind does not negotiate. It does not waste time debating whether to act. It does not rely on feelings. It simply executes. This is where most people fail. They think success is about working intensely when they feel motivated. But true success comes from working consistently, even when they don't. Seneca wrote, "He who indulges in empty fears earns himself real fears." The same applies to discipline. The more you allow yourself to skip, to delay, to make excuses, the more you fear discomfort. You train yourself to avoid pain rather than embrace it. But if you lean into discipline, if you do the hard things regardless of how you feel, discomfort stops being an enemy. It becomes a tool for growth. Think about this. How many times have you said, I don't feel like working out today, or I'll start tomorrow? And how many times has tomorrow turned into next week, then next month? That's the danger of waiting for motivation. It breeds procrastination, and procrastination destroys potential. Discipline is an identity shift. It's not something you do when convenient, it's something you become. A person who relies on motivation is controlled by their emotions. A person who operates with discipline is controlled by their commitments. One is unpredictable, the other is unstoppable. When you train your mind to act regardless of how you feel, you gain control over your life. You no longer wake up and ask, do I feel like doing this today? You wake up and do it because it's who you are. This is why elite athletes don't skip training when they're tired. Why successful entrepreneurs don't wait for inspiration to work. Why do great writers write even when they have no ideas? They don't rely on motivation. They rely on habits, discipline, and momentum. Once discipline takes over, everything changes. You don't just build habits, you build self-trust. You know that you will show up no matter what. And when you trust yourself, you stop fearing failure. You stop hesitating, you stop waiting, you just do. So ask yourself, are you acting only when you feel like it? Or are you committed to doing what needs to be done, no matter what? Because the people who wait for motivation will always be chasing it. But the people who master discipline, they are the ones who cannot be stopped. 7. Focus on what you can control. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much you plan, things will go wrong. No matter how much effort you put in, some outcomes will never be in your favor. If you spend your life trying to control everything, you will be exhausted, frustrated, and constantly disappointed. But there is a way out, a way to reclaim peace of mind and maintain clarity no matter what happens. The key? Control only what you can. Let go of everything else. Epictetus put it bluntly. Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. Most people suffer because they refuse to accept this. They get attached to things outside their control, how people behave, how the world treats them, and how events unfold. They complain, they stress, they they get angry, but none of it changes reality. It only makes them weaker. When you focus on what you can control, life simplifies. The chaos around you no longer dictates your mood. You stop trying to fix things beyond your reach. You shift from reacting to responding. You take full ownership of your actions, your thoughts, and your emotions. Look at how people waste energy. They rage over traffic, they obsess over what others think of them, they relive past mistakes, and they stress about things they cannot influence. They surrender control of their minds to things that don't deserve it. But here's the truth: nothing external has power over you unless you give it permission. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And this is true for most people. They spend their days overthinking worst-case scenarios, worrying about what-ifs, and losing sleep over things that may never happen. Meanwhile, the things they actually can change, their habits, their discipline, their mindset, are ignored. They let the things they can't control take over their minds, and as a result, they sabotage the things they can. This is where the shift happens. Instead of focusing on what's beyond you, redirect your energy to what's within you. You can't control the economy, but you can control your work ethic. You can't control what others say, but you can control how you respond. You can't control the past, but you can control what you do next. The strongest people aren't the ones who have perfect conditions. They are the ones who remain steady when conditions are imperfect. They don't waste energy fighting reality. They don't seek revenge. They don't dwell on unfairness. They don't complain. They adapt. They adjust. They move forward. It's easy to get caught in the illusion of control. You think if you try hard enough, you can force things to go your way. But this is a losing game. No one controls everything. Not the richest billionaire, not the most powerful leader, not the strongest warrior. But the ones who thrive are those who put all their energy into what they do control and refuse to waste time on anything else. Think about how much time is wasted on frustration. People complain about things they can't change: politics, the weather, the past, the opinions of strangers. But frustration changes nothing. Action does. What if, starting today, you refuse to give energy to things outside your control? What if you never again stressed over someone else's behavior? What if you ignored every distraction and focused only on what moves you forward? You would be untouchable, unshaken, unstoppable. When you shift your focus, life becomes clearer. Obstacles no longer feel like roadblocks, they become challenges to overcome. Uncertainty no longer feels paralyzing, it becomes a space for growth. Failure no longer feels like the end, it becomes a lesson. Every minute spent worrying about something outside your control is a minute stolen from something within your control. Every ounce of energy wasted on anger or regret is energy taken away from progress. So ask yourself, where is your focus? Are you trapped in frustration over things you can't influence? Or are you fully owning what is within your power? Because the moment you stop trying to control the world and start controlling yourself, you become unstoppable. 8. Times will pass anyway. Make it work for you. Time doesn't wait. It doesn't slow down when you're uncertain. It doesn't pause when you're distracted. It moves forward, whether you're using it or wasting it. And that's the brutal reality. Every second that passes is gone forever. People act as if they have unlimited time. They put off their goals, telling themselves they'll start tomorrow, next week, or when they're ready. But time doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't wait until you feel motivated. It doesn't give second chances. The time will pass anyway, and if you don't use it, you lose it. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. The Stoics knew that life is short and that tomorrow is not guaranteed. And yet, most people live as if they have forever. They delay action. They avoid challenges. They assume they have time to waste. But they don't. The harsh truth, 5 years from now, you will either be in a better place or exactly where you are today. The difference? What you choose to do with your time. People make the mistake of believing that waiting preserves time. By postponing decisions, they are being careful. But waiting doesn't save time, it wastes it. Psychology calls this temporal discounting, the tendency to prioritize short-term comfort over long-term success. It's why people procrastinate. It's why they tell themselves, I'll start next week, knowing deep down that next week will turn into next month, then next year. They assume they'll have more time later. But when later comes, they realize nothing has changed, except that they are older, with less time left. Seneca warned about this. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Think about how much time you've lost. The hours spent scrolling through social media, the days wasted overthinking instead of doing, the months spent waiting for motivation that never came. Imagine if all that time had been used to build something, to improve, to grow. This is why the most successful people don't wait. They don't waste time complaining about their circumstances. They don't sit around hoping for luck. They move. They take action even when they don't feel like it. They understand that time is always moving, and they move with it. There are two types of people. One, those who let time pass by accident. They drift. They hope things will get better. They assume they have time. Two, those who make time work with intention. They take control. They decide what they want and start now. Most people are in the first group. They wait for the perfect moment, believing that someday everything will align and they'll finally feel ready. But perfect moments don't exist. There is never a perfect time to start. There is only now. Think about it. If you continue living the way you are right now, where will you be in a year? In 5 years? If you're not actively working toward change, you won't just stay the same. You'll fall behind. Because time doesn't keep you in one place. It either moves you forward or leaves you behind. This is why regret is so powerful. Not because of what people did, but because of what they didn't do. The opportunities they missed, the risks they avoided, the potential they never lived up to. People don't regret failure as much as they regret inaction. Because failure teaches, it builds resilience. But inaction, it gives you nothing except the painful realization that you could have been so much further ahead if only you had started earlier. So what's stopping you? Fear? Doubt? The belief that you're not ready? None of that matters. What matters is that time is passing, right now, and you have two choices. Let it slip away, telling yourself you'll start someday. Or use it, knowing that every action you take today brings you closer to the life you want. A year from now, you will look back on today, and you will either be grateful that you started or regretful that you didn't. The choice is yours. The time will pass anyway. Make it count. Time is passing. Whether you act or not, the days will keep moving. The choice is simple. Will you use time or will you let it slip away? Discipline over motivation, action over hesitation. Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. These aren't just ideas, they are principles that will shape your future. If you apply them, you will change. If you ignore them, nothing will change. Marcus Aurelius Seneca and Epictetus didn't just speak about philosophy, they lived it. They understood that success isn't built in grand moments, but in small, consistent actions. You don't need the perfect time. You don't need more motivation. You need to start. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to train your mind. Every moment of doubt is a test. Every setback is a lesson. If you keep waiting for conditions to be perfect, you'll wake up years from now wondering where the time went. But if you take control today, just one small step, you set something in motion that can't be stopped. Now I want to hear from you. What is one area in your life where you've been waiting instead of acting? Share your story in the comments. Your journey might inspire someone else to take action.